Super Rugby 2018 season preview for the Sunwolves. I think in no other squad will you find as many changes as have gone on here, but half the guys are new and half the guys are left. New coach, who's also the coach of the Japanese national team. So he's kind of got both hats on this year, trying to get high-level game time for some of his players who are eligible for the national team, and also trying to get the Sunwolves to win. So it'll be an interesting set of selections for him as things go on. Not really going to worry about the players that are left because there's so many, and there's a lot of new ones that are coming. So let's focus on who's still here. Hori, Brigvadza, Niwai, Smith, Ivalu, Van Wyk, Ku, Inagaki, Miller, and Ishihara. So some of those names will be familiar, and you'll notice with guys like Brigvadza that there's a lot of different nationalities, hence this lovely, handsome hat on. Yeah, a lot of different nationalities, very diverse team that they've got here at the Sunwolves. So Hori is kind of the flag bearer Japanese rugby player. He's played for the Rebels for a couple of seasons, looked good, got a lot of minutes. Unlike some other guys like Tanaka, played for the Highlanders for a few years, often came on with 10 minutes to go. Goromaru played for the Reds in a kind of bit part role, but being a hooker, he kind of got split minutes with whoever was in front of him, and sometimes he actually started, so he always performed well. Brigvadza is a Georgian. He's played in England, played a lot for the Georgian national team, and if there's one thing we know about Georgian rugby, they've got big forwards, so I would expect a bit from him. Niwai has played for the Japanese national team under Jamie Joseph, so he must see something in him that he wants to develop. He's 26, so for a hooker, still fairly young. Ivalu, he's a Tongan Japan player, so he's Tongan, but he plays for the Japanese national team. Again, he's played under Jamie Joseph just kind of fairly recently, so this is going to become a really common theme. Van Wyk's come over from the Lions, where he was kind of a bit part player, as has Miller come over from the Highlanders, where he was a bit part player. So it kind of remains to be seen whether he's going to lean towards foreign players who were in Super Rugby teams in other countries, or whether he's going to really focus on those Japanese national team players. Ku played a couple of games last season, but he's another one who plays for the Japanese national team. He's still pretty young. I think he's only 23, so yeah, really young. Got a lot of development in him. Inagaki looked good in the games he played last season. He didn't play as many as the other guy, but he looked better than the other guy, I think Yamamoto. So hopefully he gets more game time this season. And Ishihara, he is another one who's played for Japan under Jamie Joseph. So choices. Good mix of local and imported talent there. In the locks and the loose, so Wykes, Hatting, Helu, Himano, Moore, Maccabi, Quirk, Lavaskakni, Van der Walt, Brits, Leach, Tokunaga, and Nunamaki, sorry. A little bit more to be, I think, excited about here. Wykes has played for the Sunwolves for a while now, and he's fine. He's not really an outstanding lock. He wasn't that great when he was at the Force, but he's fine, and his social media stuff can also be quite amusing. So great hair. So if nothing else, he should be on the field just for that. Hatting, I'm excited to have with the Sunwolves. You know, used to play for the Bulls. He's, I think, the first guy in this squad anyway to crack 2 meters. Like some of these other guys, Jimeno, who's also new to the squad, he's 1.87 m or 6'2" if you like it in the old imperial measurements, which is by today's standards really short for a lock. I mean, even most flankers are that height nowadays. Apparently he does play flanker, but he's listed in their team sheet as a lock. So having Hatting there with that height, I think will help them. Just because last season, Brits, who's the number 8, was their top line-out guy by a mile. He took way more line-out ball than anybody else. So if there was a hole that needed filling, I think it's that kind of towering presence at line-out time. And still, 2 meters and 1 is not huge by today's standards, but it's acceptable. Helu, he's another one who's a Tongan descent, Japan player. He's a big ball runner, so he looks all right when he's on. Maccabi didn't really get many minutes last season. Again, 1.92 m, so a bit short. Quirk, he's a tackle machine, always has been. Guy who probably does a lot more without the ball than does with it. But yeah, he in a team that had defensive problems last season, someone who's going to make lots of tackles is important. And that's why I'm really happy to see Labiskakni on here, because I remember him when he played for the Cheetahs, and less dynamically, but still for the Bulls. Just a tackling machine. I had him in my fantasy team, and he got me a lot of points because he would just tackle all day long. In a Cheetahs team that was often needing to make a lot of tackles. So happy to see him on the team sheet. Couldn't really find any news about it. I only found out when I looked at their actual list of players. Van der Vault is a guy who used to play for the Kings. He actually plays for Japan now under Jamie Joseph. So expect him to get some time. Willie Britts, like I said last season, one of their kind of more outstanding players. Really good hands for a loose forward. Good offloads, set people up for tries. Did a lot of work on the line out. Another guy with great hair. It's becoming a theme. One of the biggest signings, I think, is Michael Leach from the Chiefs. He plays for the Japanese national team as well, but he's been playing as Super Rugby for the Chiefs. So, yeah, to get him on board is really good because he is an X factor loose forward. I'm not sure how they're going to work it out with Britts and Leach because they're traditionally both number 8s, but I guess they can move them around or swap them around. I'm very excited to see how he goes because he can really make something out of nothing and has good work rate. Very, very good signing. Tokunaga, he was pretty ordinary last season, and Nunomaki, really guilty of some poor D. But that was a common theme with the whole season. In the backs, Tanaka, Uchida, Nagari, Tamura, and Parker. So Tanaka, like I said, played with the Highlanders. Always impressed when he played. Didn't play probably as much as he wanted to. See if he can get the starting job. Probably competing with Uchida, who played last season as well. Nagari didn't get any minutes, so probably says something about that. The two fly halves, Tamura was fine last season. Took over from Hayden Cripps. Kicks a bit more than Hayden did, but he didn't look disgraceful when he played, so he was fine. And Parker was kind of a third choice 10 at the Highlanders. They were always regarded as a little bit small, but reliable, well composed. Always behind Sopoaga and Marty Banks at the Highlanders. So with that Highlanders connection, it's going to be a choice for Jamie Joseph again with his Highlanders experience or Japan national team. Which way do you go? Midfielders and outside backs, so Tarakawa, Lafaele, Teaupa, Little, Tupou, Nakamura, Murata, Fukuoka, Yamada, Vandenheever, Lemeki, Salmaki, Robinson, and Matsushima. Yeah, it's a pretty big squad that he's named. I actually left out a couple of guys who were on kind of short-term, wider training squad contracts. Tarakawa was impressive last season. He's got an engine that doesn't quit. Always lots of tackles, lots of runs. Busy player looking for work. Again, may not be the fastest or the strongest guy, but at least he's got that work rate, which some players with maybe more skill don't have. Lafaele was joint top try scorer with the Sunwolves last season, so had a pretty good season in the midfield. Ran some good lines, set up some good passes. But this guy is the other joint top try scorer, Fukuoka. He looked really good. He averaged 1 line break per game, which is pretty impressive. He's just a real, kind of like a Shane Williams style for Wales, like just gas, and he's short, so can get up to speed really quickly, and just, good maneuverability, so agile. Very cool player to watch. Some of these other guys, Tiapu, God, his name's the one that I can't just get. He's been capped by Jamie Joseph at the Japanese national team level. So, like I said, a lot of players in that boat. Little, he's a utility player, Mitre 10 Cup, couldn't crack the Blues squad, so maybe a squad player here, unless Jamie Joseph sees something in him that the Blues never saw, which wouldn't be uncommon. Tupou, he's a former Force player. He only runs one way. He doesn't really pass. Give me the ball, I'm going to run in a straight line. That's what he does. Kind of like a Mitch Inman style player. Nakamura, he's new. He plays 10 or 12, so possibly backup if anything happens over here. Murata, he's a real fringe player for Japan. So again, I'm thinking squad. Yamada is back from, he played with the Sunwolves in their first season, 2006. He's 32, so he would have been 30 at the time, and got quite a few tries. So didn't look slow. Yeah, see how he goes. Vanden Hever is kind of a bigger ball runner than the guy like Fukuoka for sure. Got that journeyman career going on, played around South Africa, played in the Pro 12 or Pro 14. So yeah, I guess he's going to see out his career in Japan. Lemeki, he plays wing or fullback for Japan. Salmaki, he's big from the stats that I read. He's bigger than some of the locks. So he might be a kind of good big man, short man, big man, small man thing with Fukuoka if they got one on each wing. Robinson, if he can stay injury free, he used to play for I think it was Highlanders and Chiefs, but his career was just always dogged by injury. So if he can stay healthy, he might get some game time, and probably saved one of the best for last. Matsushima last season was really impressive with his hands, with his tackle busts, with his decision making. Yeah, really good young player. Yeah, just really impressive all-round game. So yeah, that's the Sunwolves squad for 2018. Yeah, a good mix of guys. And I mean, with the new coach, I'm really keen to see what happens, because he does have, Jamie has a tactical, he's like innovative as a coach. Like, he took a Highlanders team which wasn't full of all the best players and still managed to win Super Rugby. Didn't have all the big names of New Zealand rugby, but still always had a really good team, you know, with that kind of low possession, counter-punching style game. So yeah, I'm going to see how he gets the best, because he does get the best out of his players. See what he can do with this lot. Defense is the main thing he has to solve, because it was pretty shocking at times with the Sunwolves last season. In terms of missed tackles last season, they were the #1 team. Run meters conceded, #1 team. Key point line breaks conceded, they were the #1 team. Conceding an average of 44.7 points per game. And they still managed to get a couple of wins. It's pretty hard to get a win if you're conceding an average of 40 points a game. It means you've got to be one of the top try-scoring teams. And they were not. I mean, they still scored more tries than the Sharks, Bulls, Force and Rebels. But the Force, Bulls and Rebels were pretty... Oh, the Force, no, I won't give them that. But the Bulls and Rebels were pretty bad. And the Sharks and the Bulls don't play a game that requires a lot of tries to be scored. So, yes, they need to reduce those kind of 90 to 10 or whatever results. You can't be conceding those, and then... Because that's when all the criticism starts about, oh, should they be playing in the competition, blah, blah, blah. So they need to get the D sorted. Oh, my son's very excited. Must want also the Sunwolves to get their D sorted. And yeah, with all these guys that have come in, especially from a few different places, it's kind of got a look of a few hired guns who've come in. So he needs to get all these guys to blend really quickly. And that's also been one of the problems that they've had with the Sunwolves previously, especially in their first year. They had like the least prep time of any of the teams. No real preseason to speak of. So yeah, he's got a big job ahead of him. Strength of schedule, so it's the 11th hardest, so kind of at the easier end, but that helps being in the Aussie Conference, which for and against last season was one of the weaker ones. They avoid the Jaguares and the Highlanders, so there's no dream reunion between Jamie and those Highlanders fans, which is a pity. But they avoid a trip to Argentina, which is probably welcome, just because looking at their run of games, they've got a lot of 2 games at home, 2 games away, 2 games at home, 2 games away, which is not ideal given the shifting in time zones. But I guess unlike the Jaguares, Japan's time zones are not that far from like Australia and to a lesser extent New Zealand, so it's not as jarring on the body and less jet lag traveling like a 5-hour or something shift in time. But they start the season with the Brumbies and then the Rebels at home, so potentially games that are definitely winnable. Then they got the Sharks and the Lions away, which will be tricky. Chiefs at home, then they got a bye. Then they, like I said, 2 games at home, 2 games away to New Zealand, a bye, 2 games at home, 2 games away in Australia. So, like I said, that travel factor could build up over time. Like the Jaguares have kind of got a better split of the travel, less kind of almost like constantly on the move. But the target, in terms of the expectations, they've said top 5. Where that comes from, I'm not sure. That's lofty as far as I think most fans would be concerned. They've definitely made improvements to the squad, at least in terms of there's a few names come in here who I think, yep, those guys could do well here. The coach has got the reputation for it. He's just got to get everything right. I think realistically, if they can be competitive in the Australian Conference, even if they come last, they'll be considered a success. They don't need to come top 5, and they just need to reduce those big, like lopsided score lines as well. It's all right if you get beaten, but don't get beaten by 70 points. It's not a good look. So yeah, if they by some miracle make the playoffs, give that man a medal because he's done a really good job. But we will see how they go. Yeah, probably favourites for the wooden spoon. But we will see if they can avoid it. All right, still got a couple teams to go, but we'll look at them next time. It's 2 Cents Rugby, and I'm signing off for now. See you guys later.